gap between the growing expectations of technologies and what they're currently able to deliver. To equip the workforce to be ready for digital transformation, development of necessary digital skills is a priority. How do we design an inclusive framework and ecosystem for skills development, from making it part of the school curriculum to adult reskilling and upskilling? And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to our panelists. First up, Mr. Joey Concepcion, Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship and ASEAN Back Chairman, Philippines. Our second panelist, Mom Luang Priyapan Sitawat, Vice Chairman, Executive Board Committee, AWEN Thailand. To our third panelist, Mr. Warawat Suwakon, First Executive Vice President, Dean of SCD Academy. Dr. Chingchai Hanjenlak, Vice Chairman, the Thai Chamber of Commerce. Our last panelist, Dr. Nattawut Pongsirit, Deputy Secretary General, Corporate Excellence Group, Eastern Economic Corridor Office of Thailand, EEC. And last but not least, our moderator today, Mr. Vivek Nag, Head of South and Asia Country Manager in Singapore, Willis Towers Watson. Please give him a warm welcome as well.
Hello everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to everyone for this last and final session on what I actually think is one of the most important issues to actually speak about when we are talking about ASEAN 4.0, human capital development. We have an absolutely great group here who are very experienced and will be able to share really their actual views on what are the impending challenges and opportunities of the 4.0. Thematically, just to set the stage, we're going to try and address 4 key issues. One is the impact on jobs, with a specific focus on the MSME sector, because that is like the lifeblood of both employment and like the GDP. The other one is inclusion, and more so from like a gender perspective, and whether this entire revolution that we are seeing, is it going to be helpful to increasing gender and how much actual participation we have. The third is the issue of skilling, reskilling, upskilling, education. These are issues that are central to us being able to develop human capital. And finally, because this is to do with the entire thing, how do the different geographies within ASEAN actually work together, we will try and focus on really regionalization and how do the different geographies actually work together. So those will be thematically the 4 things that we will actually hit on. And each of the speakers has prepared a presentation or an introduction to address some of those issues. How we're going to do the entire panel is each speaker is going to introduce the session, and then we will follow it up with actual questions. I believe there is an app, and so I would encourage you all to send your questions on there, or also feel free to just write them down and actually send them up here. So we are going to start first to actually talk about the impact of ASEAN 4.0 on really jobs, and more specifically, what is ASEAN as a group doing to focus on the development of the MSME sector through the AMEN program. So I'm going to hand it first to you, sir, and for you to help introduce us to AMEN.
Well, this is the hardest session because basically everybody wants to leave the room. Basically, I mean, as a former ASEAN batch chair, 2017, the Philippines basically started its theme with Partnering for Change and Prosperity for All. The 10 ASEAN countries, the way I look at it, being part of ASEAN for the last 2 years now, the very existence really stems from the very fact that all countries must prosper together, and basically no country being left behind. And not all of the 10 countries are doing well, especially with those at the bottom of the pyramid. And basically in the Philippines, 99% of our business community are micro and small entrepreneurs, mostly. Many of them are women. And similarly, I guess in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Indonesia, similar in nature. And the programs that I've done, actually, prior to even joining ASEAN, is I've been 14 years in really trying to help micro and small entrepreneurs. The fourth IR is basically a challenge for many in the older generation. I believe the fourth IR is a disruptor to basically many of the offline businesses that we are into. I mean, factories, retail, all of this, even communications, television, network, and all of them are going to be disrupted. But the fourth IR basically is going to create the greatest democratic environment for many of our micro and small entrepreneurs. Why is that so? In the Philippines, for example, the money and market platforms in the digital side is creating access, especially in fintech, for small entrepreneurs to be able to access credit through mobile operators who own basic applications in fintech that bring the lender and the borrower together, basically to the telephone, different apps. In the case in the Philippines, we've got Lender, PLDT, and Mint by Globe, which is a partnership with Alibaba. When we look at the market side, the market platforms, you've got Grab dominating most ASEAN countries, Lazada, Shopee. You've got Salora, you've got Gawin, which is a service platform. You've got Lalamove, you've got Honestbee, you've got Angkas, which is a Filipino motorcycle. Tons of digital platforms. For an entrepreneur in the offline businesses to succeed, mentorship, money, and market are very important. The digital platforms is actually going to hasten the inclusion. And my role as an advisor to the President of the Philippines in entrepreneurship is digitalization is pro-poor. Maybe against the rich because it disrupts our structure, but many of the old establishments are adopting. One example of which is Honestbee. They basically do delivery services for food consumer products in the supermarkets. They have bee shoppers who will shop for you and do the delivery using different platforms like Angkas, which is a motorcycle, or use Grab and many others. So the change in the whole digitalization that's bringing forward is creating new ideas, basically convenience for many of the consumers. I mean, the phone now becomes a very vital instrument of the consumer and the entrepreneur. And to me, the problem here is the regulator. Government, even in the Philippines, many of them are people of our age, don't seem to understand the benefits. In fact, many of our MSMEs are in their 50s, 60s. And the challenge is, how do they adapt towards this new type of technology? So what we've done is we've basically partnered, our foundation has partnered with Singapore Poly. We have signed an arrangement with them that the Philippines will be the test case of bringing online mentorship to the Philippines and eventually to the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. Once it succeeds in the Philippines, this e-learning program, which is a mentoring program that will supplement the current majors that different students are taking in various universities, colleges, to be able to adapt towards this new format. And they can actually be the, let's say, the mentor to their parents who are more on the brick and mortar side. So technology can be brought forward by these young kids. So it's very important that the youth understands, and they, without having to teach them, digital is so accessible to them. Even my 12-year-old child can do everything even better than I am. So the adaptation of the youth towards digitalization is there. And that is, to me, the key moving forward in creating a more inclusive environment in ASEAN. Access to money and access to market are critical. And of course, access to mentorship is also important, and that's why such as e-learning programs and other efforts that the ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurship Network, and this is a legacy project that I created when the Philippines chaired, which is to bring about a group of mentors coming from each ASEAN country where they're strong at to help those that are weak. And we have different forms. In the Philippines, it's more intensive. We go down to the level of the rural areas and really mentor people. Last year, for example, we mentored close to 8,000 mentees. And that becomes part of the network. But at the ASEAN level, we started with the ASEAN Agriculture Summit this year. We are going to do the ASEAN Tourism Summit. So at the top level, mentoring the mentor through these different formats is a way of enhancing the skills, the knowledge, and the sharing of best practices of each country. So all of these efforts to me are important, and I believe digitalization is really a pro-poor platform, and to me the only way to really create greater inclusivity. And now those that will lose jobs, for example in AI, in the Philippines, call centers, BPOs, they will really have to adapt. And to me, but the greater good is the greater population will benefit from this kind of platform, and there is no way of stopping this wave. The wave of convenience, the wave of accessing cheaper products, better quality products, because you actually enhance the level of competition. The brick and mortar businesses will actually embrace it, and I've seen it that many of, for example, the supermarkets in the Philippines, they become the touch points wherein these online players, Honestbee, Grab, and all of them will be able to access the products, buy it for the consumer, do the delivery. Logistics companies are scaling up, and it just creates better inclusivity. A driver in the Philippines, now it's very difficult to get a driver to drive you, I mean a private driver, even house help. They are now being absorbed by service platforms, massage service platforms like Xenia and Gawin. So those with skill are able to now market themselves to the different platforms. That to me is creating inclusivity. That is me, to my mind, creating the demand to move higher so that wages will move up because of demand. And in the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, we look forward and we look at digitalization on the positive light, and I think that's why Kunarin wanted the theme of Fourth IR, and it's really basically pushing for prosperity for all.
Thank you, Joey. Just a follow-up question there. So if I'm like an SME that wants to be a part of the program, or equally if I'm like a leader sitting here who wants to actually contribute to the program, how does that work and how can I be like a part of the program?
Well, you're referring to Amen. Yes. Right now, what we have done basically, we are in the beginning stage of really trying to show the ASEAN-backed countries, the 9 other countries, on how the Philippines is doing it. We use basically the government machinery, the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Agriculture, and we use their structure. Since they take care of the MSMEs, we bring in the mentors. And we're close to about 700 mentors today. These mentors are, they go through a program of a 13-week program basically, and it's a very structured program, and they actually do actual mentorship. We have encouraged also the private sector. We have Mentor Me on Wheels that does one-on-one mentorship with mentees. So it's different formats. We have a Mentor Me Online, which is an online platform. So that program, I mean, we've done it for 14 years. The advantage of the Philippines is I do part-time work with the government as an advisor to the president, so I can bring in the government machinery to support the private sector. But basically, the engine that drives mentorship is the private sector and not government. Because the private sector are composed of entrepreneurs. So that's the model that we're trying to adopt in the different countries, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, etc.
Great, thank you. Digitization is inclusive because it brings into the force a genuinely underrepresented group. Shifting gears to another group that is underrepresented, which is actually females in the workforce. I will ask you, ma'am, to just focus a little bit on the work you're doing through the AWEN program and how that program encourages female participation.
Thank you. I have to start on my PowerPoint about AWEN, which would like to introduce a little bit about ASEAN Women Entrepreneur Network. We've been founded in 2012 by the proposed in 2007 by the Vietnam business women, and then it was adopted. It has been adopted in the ASEAN Committee on Women, so it has become function on the social pillar. And after that, Vietnam is a chair start from 2014 to 2016, and next to Vietnam is Philippine AWEN. They start in another 2 years in 2016 to 2018, and then Thailand take a chairmanship from 2018 to 2020. And we have vision and mission to help women to have their regional platform in exchange of skill, communication, and ideas, and also to enhance women economic empowerment. Our purpose is to fit to the goal of the SDG for the UN Women, that we all help to each other. And we have the board that are comprised of 10 women entrepreneurs from 10 ASEAN member states. We also have the chair of each country, and we have the focal point from each country as well. I will not go into detail for this one, but you can always search from the secretary of this conference. Also that we have the executive board that work for all 10 ASEAN countries, and also that since we're going to become a chair from 2018, so in May last year, we were privileged to meet with the Prime Minister of Thailand, and we have all the members of each country to join us. So the Prime Minister of Thailand has recognized ASEAN as one of the team for economic driven for the country. We have the ASEAN plan that concerning with network for women to exchange their skills, their idea and things on that help each other to grow up. We also belong to the policy made by the SDG from UN Women. And also we have the paper research we call white paper on women economic empowerment in the digital economy. We are lucky to have the US ASEAN community of trade and investment that done the research for us. And with this research, we found out our problem and strength, our weakness and strength. And with this one, we have formed our strategic plan objectives to work together in the next 2 years to provide all the framework and things on to help women's knowledge, especially for MSME. In Singapore, you have no MSME, you always have SME, but in the rest of the ASEAN country, we still have MSME. So the micro, small enterprise, we have to help them. And this is our projects for the 2018 to 2020. We have the 7 key thematic areas. The first one is the digitalization, market access and outreach. And the second one is fostering financial inclusion, financial literacy and financial discipline. We found out from most of ASEAN countries that after you've been retired from your private sector, you will have no money to spend at the retirement age. That's why we need to train them on the financial inclusion, also involved with the discipline for themselves. Also that we have to reskill workforce for the women and their staff that because of the digital era, we have to shift ourselves to the new era. Also that we have the promoting of sustainability and self-sufficiency to MSME. We also enhance ASEAN women information sharing and also the empowerment of ASEAN women leadership in the international arena. Last one that we have adopted last year, the end of last year in Vietnam is addressing the environment issues and resilience to climate change. Our head projects that are involved by many countries, we divided to take responsibility. And also that we have the stakeholders approach. All of them are like the international organization, and also that we have ASEAN Bank as one of our partner and advisor. We also work for we have been working with the UNSCAP and the USAID, OSAID, and many others organizations that you can see on screen. The globalization 4.0 and beyond is our next activity that we have Asian Business Women Conference and Award Ceremony. Our tentative is in early July, but the main one is Women CEO Summit for the globalization 4.0 and beyond, shaping the future of women entrepreneurs and enterprise. Tentative from October 30 to 31st this year, so that we are next to with the ASEAN Bank activities. Just before ASEAN Bank activity. Along with that ASEAN Women Business Conference and Award Ceremony, we have the issue for 7 sections belong to our thematic plans and awarding ceremony. Also, we will have the Women CEO Summit. The same thing happened with each section. We will focus on each thing, and we got the sponsorship to help from many foundations. Also, that it is a plan that we have for the next 2 years that in different time of the year. The recommendation has been made from the research compiled and proposed from ASEAN as follows. The first one is to improve in terms of government policies that will promote the adoption of technologies and women entrepreneurship. ASEAN was born in the social pillar, but we have to work with economic pillar, and that one is the one that we need to emphasize for most countries. We need the support from the national ICT policies. In Thailand, the national policy are a must, and government policy play an important role in creating and shaping conditions for economic activities and opportunities. Therefore, internet with strong signal should be coverage for users in all ASEAN member states. I agree with Kun Arin that we need a facility for this one to help ASEAN to grow up. Government in ASEAN member states may join their hands having research and data to develop their mutual benefits in digital technology. I also wish that some of the existing policy of the government in ASEAN countries which encourage the adoption of the technology, especially among women entrepreneurs, are as follows: that most have all the policy to be made. Also, that policy for most countries should be together. And also, for example, Myanmar and Thailand and Vietnam, they have the digital platform and application made for the farmers for smart agriculture. In some countries, you may have not, but because of this country, they are most concerned with agriculture. Also, that we also have to mention agriculture products. They are key as a good supplies for the industries. The active use of ICT, like free Wi-Fi, should be given by the government. We have seen in Northern Europe, in Lithuania and in Estonia, that they provide a free Wi-Fi for the people in the country. In that regard, their GDP is increasing to 4.9%, and I think it is the highest one in European Union. The economic growth is go beyond in 2017, and also that the ICT need to serve as a useful channel to accessing information about the market, business, and management skills. Also that most of the new generation, they think that internet is a must for them. In that case, that we also need internet for senior citizens, that they can work out to find out the skill in management or either marketing skill and so on for our daily life. So we would like to encourage that if countries in ASEAN member states can use that as a key for everyone that they can access, it will be helping to get more income for themselves too. But internet signal is, I have to admit that in Thailand, our internet signals is not strong enough. Even in the high-rise building, we have to try to find some corner to get the internet signal. And also in the agriculture area, there is not much internet signal for the people. And if we would like to help the MSME people, we need to do it. We have to have that. We also need the thing that is essential for the startups and also the young generation who are at the university or college levels because they already start up their business in that time. We need a policy for digital literacy education. That part is because most of us in the remote area, they still need digital skill because it's new thing for them and they need to learn. And the countries should provide them with that skills. We have the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security that help to promote that in their 8 centers in the northern region or region in Thailand. And that is the thing that help. So this one, we need to make sure that our government realize about this thing and they can help each other. Because if you would like to go fast, you have to go alone. But if you would like to go together, go farther, you have to go between your own 10 countries, between men and women. Thank you.
That's an absolutely great way to end, man. Thank you very much. Can I just ask you one follow-up question there? Given all the great work that is already happening, but at the same time, you also talk about that, disruption of the jobs, etc. So when we talk about gender and when we talk about more active participation in the workforce, do you think digitization will be a boom for more females coming into actual jobs, or do you think it will it will sort of be like a challenge?
In Thailand, because we also have handicraft item and so many jobs that you can do freelance, so that after if they get some problem with digitalization, they can even do their own craft at home. We have a high percent of executive in Thailand. 45% of Thai women are executives, and also that in the village area we have a lot of area that do handicraft at their home. So with that facing, some of them may not be capable because of their age. They may not capable to do to join in digitalization, but they have a choice. We still have a choice for that. But in a way, everything needs digitalization. Even you go to the hospital now, they have a queue. By digitalization, you have to wait long hours at the hospital. You can click on the queue, and then later on, you know that it's time for you to go up, right? Something like that. So I think everything has to be adjusted and adapt. Not everyone have to jump into digital, but you know, you find a way. In a way, they have to adjust themselves, and we need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, shifting focus to adjusting and to the new adapting, Thailand has recently announced their strategy, Thailand 4.0, to sort of help address some of the challenges that are facing us. So if you could just talk a little bit about what the EEC is doing really specifically, and how does that help to address some of the opportunities and the actual challenges?
Thank you, Vitek. I think everyone in this room know about EEC more or less. EEC probably is a very good example to turn Thailand 4.0 vision into action. May I start with giving some brief about EEC, and then I will move further to cover how EEC can engage human capital development programs. Over 30 years ago, I think everyone in this room still remember the Eastern Seaboard, because it was the era of industrial revolution. Thailand have a lot of industrial development in the Eastern Seaboard, especially petrochemical industry, oil and gas industry. But today, the government extend economic development in the eastern area into focus on 3 provinces, Chachoengsao, Chonburi, and Rayong. And then we call Eastern Economic Corridor to accelerate economic development. For the time being, EEC focus on develop the public utility, transportation system, logistics, human resource, and investor facilitation in the form of a one-stop service center. But in the future, after the infrastructure development complete, we will move to focus more on the model metropolitan, a hub of trade investment, a center for regional transportation and logistics, and a significant resort for human resource, tourist attraction, and most importantly, the most modern gateway to Asia. A question is how EEC can help Thailand 4.0 vision into action. Thailand 4.0 is a government policy highlight opportunity and investment trend in 10 target industry we call S-curve. Look at this picture on the bottom side, the orange color, we call the first S-curve. The first S-curve industry consists of next generation automotive, smart electronics, advanced agriculture and biotechnology, food processing, and tourism. The first S-curve aims to enhance the competitiveness of the country and through the technology innovation. And then when EEC step in, the government start to focus on the new S-curve, 5 new S-curve that consists of digital, robotics and automation, aviation and logistics, biofuels and biochemical, and also the medical hub. The focus of the second S-curve is to develop additional industry to accelerate on the new industrial-based growth. The question is why EEC? I think to draw attention of the investor into these 3 provinces, we need to provide some benefit. The benefit for investor to invest in the EEC, the first one is about income tax, exception from corporate income tax for up to 15 years. The second is the exception from import duties on machinery, essential material that import for using for R&D and production. The third benefit is permission to own land according to the BOI conditions. And then the foreign investor can lease the land up to 50 years and then continue for another 49 years. That means in total 99 years. The question about are we gonna sell our land to the foreigner or not? The answer is not, because after finish the project, the owners need to, if they are foreigner, they need to sell out between 3 years. But I think at that time the cost of the land is probably very high, and then should be no problem for the foreigners company who own the land. Even they have to sell out. The sixth benefit is lower personal income tax. Just only 17%. That's quite low compared to other countries in ASEAN. But the low income tax is applied only for executive, specialists, and researchers, not for everyone. And then people who invest in the EEC will get a 5-year work visa, work permit. And also we will set up the one-stop service. So everything will finish end-to-end in one office with the technology like blockchain or whatever we can find out in the market. What we are doing now, the phase 1 is to get the regulation out. That's why we have EEC regulations to confirm that we will continue on EEC until for the next 10, 20, 30 years, because everything is under law, EEC law. But for phase 2, right now we are in the phase 2. The phase 2 is to develop infrastructures for further investment. The EEC board approved major infrastructure projects. The first one is the high-speed rail project to link 3 airports, Don Mueang, Suvarnabhumi, and Utapao. So if we can connect the 3 airports together, we can handle up to 1 million passengers. That's going to be happening in the next few years, because right now Suvarnabhumi and Don Mueang is quite crowded. The second project is the Utapao Airport Development Project, to be implemented in line with the Eastern Aviation City Project, Aerotropolis. The third one is the Aircraft Repair and Maintenance Center. This project is joined with the Airbus companies in France, so we can repair, maintenance and overhaul the big airplane like Airbus 380 The first infrastructure project is a three-port dual track rail project. But actually this one government not only construct the dual track in EEC but across the country. So we are part of it. The fifth one is the Lam Chabang Deep Sea Port. The sixth one is Mapaput Industrial Port. Not only the infrastructure construction, we also build what we call smart city. The first one we call EECD or Digital Park Thailand, and the second one is the EECI or Innovation Thailand. And this morning I just heard the new one, EECMD, Medical Hub under EECs. This is a photo of a major project that I mentioned. You can see a high-speed train linking three airports, Utapao International Airport, dual track railway, Lam Chabang Phase 3, Mapaput Phase 3, and also TG MRO or Maintenance Repair Overhaul campus located in the Utapao. EECD is the Digital Park Thailand, located in Siracha. If you look at this diagram, you will see the jigsaw, the orange hard line. You see empty area in between, but actually now it's already filled by Jista. So the area now is covered like a rectangular, not the jigsaw. EECD is the Digital Park Thailand. Is the objective is to be a destination for global players, digital nomad, world-class digital nomad to invest, work, learn, and play. So in this project consists of three areas. Area 1, or we call Zone 1, is a private sector innovation space for startup. Zone 2 is digital talent space, and Zone 3 is smart living space. So the government will provide a high broadband, data exchange, international gateway, and connectivity hub to CIMV under Digital Park Thailand. Another one that I mentioned is EECI or Eastern Economic Corridor of Innovation. Actually, this one is belong to PTT because they already have a research university they call WISTIC, but now it's extended to be EECI. EECI will develop within an innovation ecosystem focus on research and development and innovation, including government and private sector laboratories, field laboratories, analytics center, pilot plant, and demonstration plant. I think we call it Wangjan Valley, with the assumption that in the future it's going to be like Silicon Valley. Government just have a new project they call InnoSpace, located in this Wangjan Valley. So everything that developed as a one frontier research in the district will turn to be commercial, and they have a startup company in between to turn research into commercial under EECI. Target technology and innovation under EECI consists of Alipolis. Alipolis is the research and innovation center for automation, robotic, and intelligent system. Biopolis, a center for research and innovation in life science and biotechnology. And Kenovapolis, a center for creating innovation in space technology and geoinformatics. Investment in 3 provinces. Last year, if you look at this diagram, more than 50% invest in the second S curve. That means robotic, digital, aerospace, everything under S curve, second S curve. And 30% for the first S curve, like automobiles, smart electronics, and 60% for others. But this year, 2018, BOI just announced that more than 80% invest in S-curve, second S-curve. Even is still concentrate on the petrochemical and electric car. But we hope that sooner or later we will see e-commerce investor like Alibaba coming into these three provinces, EEC provinces. I have collect some potential investor. In EEC office, it's a small office located in opposite the Icon Siam. It's still a temporary office. We have less than 100 employees. But every day we have investors coming to talk, to discuss, to ask for help or whatever. So potential investor by industrial categories, you will see that we have, let's say, digital, pick up the digital. We have a company like Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, NEC, Lazada. For aviation, we have Airbus, we have GE, we have Boeing, etc. Talking about infrastructure development, next question is about labor. We cannot utilize basic skill anymore because this is the S-curve industrial development for S-curve. So projection about the labor requirement in EEC, probably in the next 5-6 years we need about 1.4 million jobs. We create about 1.4 million jobs. And what government trying to do, the government approved 800 million baht to develop human resource in EEC. The aim is to supply 100,000 vocational students within next 5 years for 10 target industry to drive economic growth. So what can we do? First, we need to upgrade skilled labor using the vocational education in 3 provinces. And then we look at the current workforce. How can we up their skill to be able to work in the S-curve industry? The skill development in EEC, the objective, the first one is to have a sufficient high-skill workforce to support the rising demand in the target industries. And the second one is allow investors to be able to access to the large pool of high-skilled talent. We fund some projects to train and educate and train vocational students, as many as 115,000 students within 2022. We have a MOU signed with the Office of Vocational Education Commission, Office of Higher Education Commission, Office of BOI to jointly promote skill enhancement in the area of research, innovation, technology development in the EECs. We also have a cooperation with the investor and local education or training institute to reskill and for skill development. And investors who join us we will get up to 13 years of tax holidays. This is very interesting. So, yes.
Sorry, if I can just stop you there, and maybe we can then come back to this. But like your previous slide around the number of new jobs
Yes.
that actually got created. I would like to kind of switch this across because I think that's a great segue for us. Given the number of jobs that will be required, the number of actual new jobs, this is actually great news for anybody who's actually thinking that this actual disruption is going to create fewer jobs. Whereas clearly what we're doing here is through this entire exercise of like the EEC, over the next 12 in sort of a relatively short span, we will need to create many more jobs. But I do want to switch focus to the issue of skilling, because in order to fill these jobs, we will need to skill, we will need to reskill, we will need to upskill. So if I can just take the example of like an SCB, for example, which is a private enterprise that is working towards developing its own skill programs, not only for itself but for actually Thailand. And if you could just kind of share your experiences just from like a skilling perspective, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vivek. I'm not going through slides because of the time limitation, but let me share you our experience in responding to the impact of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 to the jobs in banking industry, especially at Siam Commercial Bank, and how we responded to this impact during the last 3 years. I think we started the what we call digital transformation at the bank about 3 years ago. And as we move along this transformation, we conducted the workforce planning and realized that there will be a lot of jobs disappeared from the organization. Right? And there will be also a number of new jobs created to fulfill the new requirement of the future organization. And we even talked about at some point that our organization could go from 27,000 headcount to 15,000. It's not finalized yet, but that's roughly the extent of the impact that we see right now. So what we have done, we set up what we call SCB Academy 2 years ago, and we have 3 key missions in order to address this impacts of the disruption, especially from the technology and the new competitions. The first mission is to basically help the employees that their jobs will disappear over the next few years, especially those who deal with the transactions and also deal with the back office operations. Right? As we move into automation, digitization, I think a number of jobs will disappear. And we believe it's an organization's responsibility to help our people to reskill them so that they can still pursue their career, whether it's going to be inside the organization or in the second phase would be outside of the organization. We believe we need to start reskilling them from the beginning. And in the first phase, we help them by equipping them with some basic skills in banking. So people who used to work in operations or used to work in services in handling all the transactions, but going forward, we would like to equip them with some of the skills that they can still be in the bank, and mostly those jobs will be in the customer-facing area, where they need to equip themselves with advisory skill, with some basic banking product knowledge. So in the past year and a half, we've been training them on that, so getting them prepared for potential mobilization from the existing area into the new area of opportunities. But in the second phase, definitely there will not be sufficient opportunities for all. Right? So we believe that we need to help equip them with some of the valuable skills that they can perhaps leverage or utilize in exploring new career opportunities outside of the organization. And I think Kun Natwood has already shown some of the requirements, which we believe that if every organization start preparing their people and start warning them that there could be potential disruption and ensure that they start reskilling themselves in preparation for something like this, I think that would be a good approach for any organization. And in the second phase, we believe that the skills like the language, the English 101 or the coding skill could be beneficial to all once they need to find new opportunities. So that's the first mission of SCB Academy, right? But the second one is even for those who are still going to be with the bank in the future, most of the experience or the skills that they have in the past, I believe maybe only 10 or 20% can still be leveraged in the future. They still need to equip themselves with future skills. And we have identified three critical skills in the first phase. Number one is technology. They need to understand what's the impact of technology to the organization and to the work that they are currently responsible for, and see how they can leverage or utilize new technology to help increase productivity or collaboration of their work with the rest of the organization. The second one is the data capability. We believe that all the executives and employees need to be equipped with the skills to know how to capture, analyze, and then utilize the insights from the data to serve the customers better or to increase their efficiency. Right? And the last one, which is the most challenging one, is the new way of working. Right? And we have identified in the first phase two areas. Number one is design thinking, which is basically customer-centric. And the second one is how can we increase the speed of our work or agility in our work environment. So these three areas are the focus that we need to upskill our people to be ready for the organization in the future. Right? And then the last one, which is the most difficult one, but I think it's probably the most important one, is how can we instill the lifelong learning culture within the organization or within each of our employees. Because the education system in the old days, or even today, people still believe that they have gone through the school, the universities, and complete the majority of their education. But going forward, they still have a lot to learn, right? And most of what they have learned in the past will become obsolete. Right? And most of what they learn today will also become obsolete within the next few years. So if we're going to still use the same learning approach like what we have done in the past, it's not going to work. Right? We talked a lot about digital learning. I think digital learning alone will also not work as well if we cannot create the whole ecosystem where we can help engage our employees to keep learning every day, whether it's going to be in the flow of work or learning to achieve the aspiration through a personalized learning journey. We cannot use the same approach of pushing them or forcing them to come to the classroom or come to the e-learning to learn, but we need to really inspire them and encourage them to do it for their own career to achieve the aspiration. So in this space, we have already started working with a few startup companies in Thailand, basically to create what I call the ecosystem, because digital learning alone will not be sustainable, right? So a lot of questions people ask is, after they have gone through the learning program or development program, and then what's next? And we believe that we need to start from the beginning, and this also could be applied from students to mid-career employees, to help them, basically a platform that help them start exploring their career aspiration, right? Which they can basically see what their current skills are and what are the gaps they need to address in order to pursue a different career or a new career aspiration. And once they have already identified that, then it comes to development platform where they can come and basically design their own learning journey to achieve the aspiration or to fill those gaps. But it will not end only that, because after they have gone through a development program, we need to find them a playing field or an opportunity for them to basically apply the skills or knowledge that they have learned throughout the program in the real situation or in the real work environment. So we need to create a marketplace where we basically source all the requirements from the other organizations or other industries and see what they need in terms of the human capital skills. And then our employees or the students can take a look in that, whether they're interested, and after they finish the program, they can basically have a space or have a playing field where they can start practicing their new skill or knowledge. And with that, I think it will complete all the loops of the development program. I think that should be some of the approach that we should pursue going forward. So I think that those are the three missions and the approach that we are taking right now. It's still a long way to go. We're still in the journey. We're not sure whether we're going to be successful or not, but we are highly committed to trying to achieve this.
Thank you, Guru. I guess if I'm kind of hearing this, what is really heartening to see for me at least is that, as we kind of go across like the speakers, I think we're clearly seeing that there are initiatives in place, whether from a regional perspective or like a local perspective, or even when it comes to a private firm, where there is a genuine effort to focus on how to develop human capital as we are going through this. Now, I am very conscious that we are closing in, and I do want to close this session by 5:40 because it has been like a long day for you. So what I'm just going to ask you to do, sir, if you could just summarize for us the opportunities and challenges that you are foreseeing with a specific focus, because I know this is something that you are quite focused on, which is the education system. I think just kind of summarize for everyone. That would be great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Being the last speaker, I think it's easy. I just say I agree to all four speakers previously, but out of respect to my friend Kun Arin, the new chairman of ASEAN Bank, I would say let me see something. I think that when we're talking about human capital and the 4.0 industrial revolution, first I would like to point out that you see the 4.0 industrial revolution is nothing new. It's the sequencing of what start perhaps almost over 30 years ago by this American philosopher Alvin Toffler, when he talked about the third wave. You have agriculture, industry, information technology, that's the third, the three wave. And the fourth wave is this one, innovation and digital economy. So that, I think that the sequence is nothing new. I mean, this is the progression. But then, when you're talking about the human capital, the most important thing is the education. And I dare to say that in most of ASEAN member countries, there's a failure of education system, perhaps except Singapore. The failure of the education system because of the basic teaching is it's a silo system. You go by class, by step. It's a silo system, no synchronization and nothing. And another thing is also is the society pushing by paper chase mentality. You always want to go for have a higher degree and all this. And that is, doesn't really teach you how to work. It teaches you the knowledge, but it doesn't give you the wisdom. Because when you go for the knowledge, you want to push higher and higher. You have to learn harder and harder, but it's by book. And that is knowledge. And this, under this fourth industrial revolution, knowledge is not enough. Because when you apply innovation and apply digital economy, you need wisdom. And you need to have the hand-on experience. So I think that's why I say the failure of our education system in most of the ASEAN member countries. Singapore has been quite successful in the education system because perhaps it's a small country and then have quite a specific target set out, and then you can clearly optimize the silo system by this system of meritocracy. So that's different. So you can see that, without the change of the educational system, I think we cannot move up the scale to the 4.0 industrial revolutions. I mean, country like Thailand is still perhaps 2.5. When we're talking about digital economy, we're talking about smart farming and all this. And then, another danger is that you see all this new technology innovation is becoming disruptive technology as well. How we're going to cope with the transition. I don't think ASEAN is prepared for that. Recently, this trade war between China and US, it will certainly have a negative impact on the economy in ASEAN. How are we going to cope with it? Are we going to be like before? Meaning we are technology imported region. We don't have to work, we just import either from China or either from US, or we just receive just the subcontract industry from China or subcontract industry from US. Then, I think we will not be able to really move up the scale. You need to change the whole system. You need to change the basic educational system. Give away with this silo education and the search for the paper society. But on the other side, it's always the two sides of the coin. The other side of the coin that if you are pushing too much on the hard technology, digital and this, you have the danger of unbalanced growth in the education system. We give up too much on soft science, then there's a danger. Like good hospital operation, you have OPD and you have back office. So if you just develop the OPD, then the back office not there. So we're going to support the doctors. My wife owns an hospital, so I speak of experience. And I'm not medical doctor, so I'm safe. But then just look at what happens to Google. Yesterday, the French government has already going to fine Google $57 million. Now, is that the expert on digital economy can help? I just wonder where the lawyer come in. So the last one I would like to point out is that in ASEAN, if you want to learn, I would recommend you to look at the model in Spain. There is a new university called Harbour.Space University, established in the year 2015 in Barcelona, in Spain. And that's how they go about coping with the new industrial revolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think clearly the fact that we need to fix the education system across ASEAN, across the world really, because as we actually progress into the future, whether we can create jobs now or not, the fact is that new workers coming into the workforce will need to have the right skills. And until we can fix the education system, that's going to be harder and harder to actually do. I'm just going to, I do recognize we have exactly 1 minute left, but if there are any questions from the audience, yes, sir. Can we please get a mic here? Here.
Thank you very much. My name is Sutayut from the World Bank, and great panel. I have just one question. You have touched some part of it, but I'd like to ask what is your thoughts about human capital development that take into account three aspects at the same time. First is to enhance competitiveness, and second, take into account the disruptive technology, and also third, addressing the inequality. how can we improve human capital development and take into account these three aspects? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Joey, do you want to take a shot at that? Because I think like a lot of what you were saying kind of does,
I think the 4.0 IR, while it creates disruption, actually sets the tone for really all those in the brick and mortar business to really take it seriously, either be destroyed or adapt towards a digital platform. Education is very important, and that's the biggest problem, for example, in the Philippines, is really how to educate many of those who are so good in the offline or brick and mortar space. And the challenge really is, even as you go down to the different schools in the provinces and rural areas, especially in a country that is full of poverty like the Philippines, the challenge is there because many of the mentors and the teachers have moved on to teach other students in the different parts of the world. So we go back to the basic of skill development, whether teaching a child on coding, or as simple as a vocational program, being an electrician, an aircon tech, or physical therapy and all of that. The reality of which is that currently, because of poverty and because of the lack of good education in these areas, and that's bulk of the population, and I'm sure it mirrors many in the other ASEAN countries. The skills program in improving their skills is currently the focus. And it's maybe the most practical point, because then the digital market platform, especially on services, will enable them to at least be their own boss, being either a Grab driver or being a retailer on the online platforms. And moving forward, what we are trying to do with e-learning, and e-learning is not learning to just an online entrepreneurship platform, but the key component here is the kind of mentors that are trained to actually mentor the students. And this is where we put the value on the academic mentor. And in this program that we're doing with the ASEAN group and the Singapore Polytechnic, is using as mentors, complementing the academe in gearing up these young kids to think of new business models and not the current business models that are existing, which are basically in the brick and mortar space. And this is the biggest challenge, especially for the people out in the provinces. No? For the students that have the chance to get into the best schools within the cities, no problem. They're exposed to all of this, they have great mentors. But part of the population in many of the ASEAN countries are faced with this challenge. And from my point of view, is really enhancing that skill using existing mentors and academia and making them participate in platforms so that they can offer their skills to the marketplace.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you like to add something?
Answer to your question, I think of China. China used to have a lot of inequality in their own people, but because of the new technology that they help to give more equal opportunities for the people in their own countries. I have visited Huawei headquarters, and I found that they have 200 engineers working for their research and data. And because in China is a very big country, they have to use digital system to connect to each other. And even for agriculture, I saw that the cow have their belt, electronic belt that indicate about when is the best time to get the milk, or are they sick, they can remove out from the area for hospitalization or things on like that. So this is very helpful that if we have a strong knowledge on internet. And if we can help each other that way in ASEAN member states, we can go faster like China. Many tourists from China came to Thailand because they get more money from their own commission. They can sell from the platform and they can buy from the platform. So everything is easier.
I'd like to give you some practical example how we can tackle with the inequality education. EEC have a project we call a Satahip model. Satahip model is the project that we work with the Satahip Vocational College. It's a collaboration between the private sector, a company in the EEC area, the college and the government. We focus on low-income students who would like to study in the vocational college. Then we provide a fund, scholarships, tuition fees, so that they can study and then work with the private sector. Once they graduate from the vocational college, the private sector or the company will accept them as an employee. So this way is we can allow low-income people, family who have a chance to study in vocational college. In terms of qualities, EEC have a MOU signed with Pearson. Pearson is the organization who have a lot of business in terms of education. Like they have a lawman publishers. They provide what we call qualification, vocational qualification, certified vocational studies. So we have a MOU to make sure that the college that we collaborate with in the EEC country provinces have qualified to have a good curriculum to teach the student. And in terms of competitiveness, also the collaboration with the top university like the Carnegie Mellon and King Mongkut Institute to set up a program for the S-curve like robotics, digital. So this kind of thing that we try to address so that we can ensure that the issue on the inequality, qualities, and competitiveness will answer.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that clearly, we have lots of opportunities, but I think that the one resounding piece that actually does come out quite clearly is that there is an imperative to work on our skilling programs. There is an imperative to work on the education system, because if we need to really leverage the opportunities that come from ASEAN 4.0, these are the two issues that really do need to be actually solved for. On sort of that note, I know it's been an extremely long day for you all, so I'd like to thank you and I'd like to thank everyone here. This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vivek, and all of our panelists. So now the seminar on Empowering ASEAN 4.0 in ASEAN BAC 2019 has come to an end here. On behalf of the host, we strongly hope that our seminar sparks the alliance between private sectors in ASEAN